guess, according to her, I did a perfect job, and and I don't want to like brag or boast, but like, the song came out really good, so I'm really proud of it. But yeah, it's domestic abuse is real, and people need to hear things like that.
Yeah, yeah. Give them strength to come out of it, man. Have you seen that video on Facebook? A lady was going through domestic abuse, and she was in a very similar situation, and convinced the boyfriend or husband to let her take the dog to the vet, and he goes
Yeah,
with them, and she like just pulls out a
so
note.
much. Yeah, the
Yeah,
note.
yeah, and yeah, pulls out a note and shows the people or whatever. So then the cops end up getting called and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Whenever
And at the end
that
of the
happens.
song, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the song, I do mention, right? Because that's what my music is always about, the dark, but I got to show the positive. So I basically, at the end of the song is like the endings, saying, hey, if Roxanne was able to come out of it, you know what I'm saying? Like you can too, right? If you're dealing with something like this, like, what I'm saying? There's a way out once again. And, and like I said, not everyone does make it out, but she was a survivor. And, and if you're a survivor, like, I talk about how she's doing better now, you know what I'm saying? So, obviously when you deal with someone like that, there's always going to be, because now she has anxiety, fear, right? Different trauma, post-traumatic stress that she deals with, but like ultimately she got out of that situation. And so my point of the song is that if you deal with something like this, it's not too late for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've always encouraged, because I was in a toxic relationship too, personally with me being, what I'm saying, like I said, always being high and not being in touch with reality, and and taking advantage as far as like just not being the best boyfriend or partner or lover that I could be. And like, and I encourage people, like, if the relationship is toxic, if it's not fully full love and understanding and communication, and because I hear so many relationships nowadays where people are like, oh, he gets on my nerves, or he pisses me off, or we fight and this and that, but we stick it out, right? And that's all good if you could stick it out and make it work. But if it's constant and it's on and off, like my last relationship was so many years, and the last 2 years were on and off, and we stuck it out because we felt like there was, you don't want to break up that type of relationship after so many years, so you stick it out. And but I nowadays with my new relationship and everything, I encourage people. I said, hey man, if you're going through problems, you guys are arguing, fighting, cursing at each other, or and it's constant. Like I say, it's better to call it quits than to try to make it work. That's like my thing, because it took me 6 to 8 years to realize that, to realize, hey, there's other people out here that you can that you're compatible with, that will love you, that you won't fight with, that will honor you, uplift you, that will cherish you. You think like, oh, no one else will love me the same, no one else will treat me the same, no one else will do this for me, but there is, there's somebody out there that's willing and waiting and wanted to love you the way you're
Yeah,
supposed to be loved. So I encourage people that are dealing with even small, like just toxic relationships, maybe not be to the point of abuse, but like I said, there's people that stick out relationships even after physical abuse, and it's sad. But like I said, she definitely got out, and I'm glad she did. And I was honored to tell her story. So, I kind of been, working on some more songs where I'm telling other people's, testimonies and stories.
that's interesting, man. So you do that a lot in your music though, as far as like telling stories, right? And this was the first time you told someone else's story.
Yeah, I love to tell the kind of like, I usually like to be like the narrator, right? Like in my songs, or I do tell different stories, or try to yeah, that's the beautiful thing about songwriting, is you're like the narrator of a movie or a book, and
Yeah,
so. But yeah, I definitely do like to do the storytelling type of song,
yeah.
type of songs. But this one, I was finally able to get it from a different perspective, and something that I couldn't relate to, because like I said, for a while it felt like I was just telling the same story, a different spin on it.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I just did my first one at the beginning of the year, which was for a contest that I did, and ended up winning. But it's a song called Scars, and it was the first one that, because it's hard for me to stay on subject writing. Like my mind, like the words that I connect together, a lot of times they're not. They're like it bridges to something else. So I
Yeah,
had to kind of. So it's hard for me to like let me keep mentioning this person and this person going through this experience and this journey and stuff. But so I really did. I think my first one at the beginning of the year, and I got, man, a lot of people reached out to me saying that it blessed them, and but he was talking about dealing with um, it's kind of like being left out, addiction, just misguided youths or whatever, finding each other and finding healing together. So it was interesting to put that out there and stay on subject. So it's kind of hard for me to do.
Yeah, I've always had that problem too, where yeah, like you said, just my thoughts are more scattered, and my when you rhyme, that's the unique thing about songwriting too, is you're just, there's really no structure to it. There doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you're rhyming, like I said, you're just rhyming, you're coming up with different rhyme schemes and different patterns, and and you don't really you're not necessarily telling a story from beginning to end. So I've done that too, and I've always felt like, I need to structure my, my songs a little differently or a little better or whatever. Because sometimes I'll go on a tangent. I'll be rhyming with one word, and I'll rhyme with that one word the whole song. And I always tell myself, I was like, what, I'm a great writer and rhymer and stuff, but I don't need to show people that I can rhyme with the same word the whole song.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean that's where like the talent comes from, as far as like chopping and writing and got all these bars. But your rhyming stuff, like I said, that doesn't really go together. I know I'll listen to like some like Tech Nine, and he's just so fast. Follow me all around the campus, college. He was like throwing stuff in there, and so they would be like filler stuff. It's like, hold on. Why did you just randomly throw in that your partners with Waka Flocka, your chakras are popping off the worldwide choppers? Like, hold on. Your partners with Waka Flocka, then your chakras are popping up. Oh, this is just insane. Just like, so, I mean, it's cool because he's so good at doing it fast and just throwing all these words together, almost like the dude that used to be on the Micro Machines commercials when we were kids, the auction type guy. But, yeah, it's like you're just using filler words. I mean, a lot of people, we don't curse in our music, but a lot of people use curse words as their, filler words. So they'll throw all types of S bombs or F bombs or whatever the case is in there.
It's like a creative form of writing or rhyming, because I've done that too plenty of times, right? Where there's really no structure, or it's really not going anywhere, but it's just like it's more random, but it's just you're just rhyming, right? And you're just may not be as random as some of these other artists, but like because a lot of times I'll eventually make it make sense.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
There won't be no order of the flow. It just kind of, like you said, you're rhyming one word from another, and then you'll take it from here to there.
Yeah, it has its own journey, like it's its own thing. I mean, I know that's definitely my style of writing for the most part, and people love it. You know what I'm saying? Because it paints a picture, and it's like a journey together. Okay, first we're talking about this, now we're talking about this, now we're talking about this, versus this one song it's only about this. Like this one song is only about a breakup. No, the song is about, I mentioned my breakup, I mentioned my childhood.
He was really good at that, about like telling the story and sticking, like really kind of relating to others, and like whether it was talking about him growing up and going through different things, but he would narrow it down where it was more like on one subject, and he would just embellish that subject in many different ways, but it'll be more focused of a song. And like you said, it's more, okay, this song is about this, and he was able to really relate with his audience, and he did a really great job. And and that's why I noticed, I'm like, okay, man, this kid's, he's blowing up and he's doing great things. And it's like, and I noticed that was like one of his, that was one of his things where he was really good at. Like, he'll tell his story, and he'll tell it in a way where, he was able to relate it to so many kids, because he was more focused on like the whole story, right? Of whether he was, tagging and getting arrested, or like he has this one story about how he got stabbed. Like he used to be tagging, and I guess he got jumped and stabbed and almost lost his life. So he did a whole song about it, you know what I'm saying? And this is just one of many songs, but a lot of his songs, like I said, they're more focused. Like you won't hear too many random, songs, and there's songs that he knows that the kids that listen to his music are going to relate to. Like whether it's the girls, the females, like he has a song talking about how girls, like they're always putting on makeup, and you take 100 selfies and you only pick out one. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that are really relative, like now, especially like nowadays, and that kids nowadays can relate to. Like he's really good at knowing what, like what's going on now and what they're relating to, and then he can put it into a song to where it's like powerful. And hey, they're like, or even there's another cat named Gremlin. He's really good at it, talking about breakups, talking about, girls not valuing themselves, or guys not valuing the girls, and just speaking all on that topic, and just making the most out of it. Just homing on that.
There's a lot of
And
people doing it. I mean, look at Joyner Lucas. I think that all the like successful guys have been able to do that. I mean, just the songs that have meaning to them. Not just a good catchy song. Those songs come and go. But the songs that have a meaning, they're usually telling a story. Like all the, whether it's the, you know what I'm saying, the rock from the, late 60s, early 70s, rock music that we used to listen to, like all of that stuff, it had a story. It was telling you a story. There's other
oh,
bands out there, even bands who kind of write, you know what I'm saying, more the way that I do. Like the one band that comes to mind is the band Bush. Like trying to listen to Bush's music, people are like, what in the world is he talking about? Where there's a bunch of little like bars. Like even for me, a lot of my stuff, and I even like writing this way, is letting that bar be about something. Like not bar, but let's say four bars. So all of these four bars go together. They still piggyback because it's in the same context, but there's another four bars that they are. It's talking about the same thing, and so there'll be 16 in a verse if you do that. So there's four of those, 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah. So there's four of those little bitty stories or brackets that all tie in, which I did in my song Alpha. That's a really one that's close to me because I just remember writing it in sections versus having the whole writing it to all together. If that makes sense. I know it makes sense for you. Maybe the people listening have no idea what we're talking about, a bar. You know what I'm saying? But it's about writing, and I like, even like looking at my lyrics the way I have it pasted out, it's like this whole thing, like here's 4 bars about Jordan Maxwell, here's 4 bars about Helena Blavatsky, here's 4 bars about Spirit Contact, you know what I'm saying, and it all ties
and
into
it's a
one
topic,
one
yeah.
umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had that moment where you're like writing and you feel like you're channeling like something else, or you're just like in a really good groove and you almost feel like you're channeling like something from another like realm, or like you feel like you're someone's guiding your pen. Like that was like the best way I describe it. I just feel like, like man, like I can't like this coming out good, right? At the moment you're just writing, you're in a groove, and
Yeah.
then like later I listen to the song and I'm like, I can't believe I came up with that. Like low key, I feel like someone, once again, whether it's my guardian angels or like my brother or like my friend, like
Yeah.
someone's like helping me with these lyrics or giving me these ideas, these intuitions, these notions,
Yep.
and these structures too. Like the way, there's a couple songs that I have. I'm like, I cannot believe I wrote that and how it came out like that. That's
Yeah.
so perfect. And like, how did I create that? And I can't give, credit. I can't take all the credit. I'm like, what I'm saying? God gives me these thoughts. Like, what I'm saying? Like I know my angels are over there looking over me and helping me do what I do best, right? Which
How
is
do I
express.
know this stuff too, right? Channeled
Yeah,
material.
like you're literally channeling something. Like, how do I? Yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't. You know these certain things that you're writing about in your songs.
It's deep. It's mind blowing. You're like, I just wrote that. I've been doing it just with that as far as writing my songs. Definitely. I mean, we deal with higher knowledge in our songs, right? So it's gonna happen a lot more for us. But even writing my book, I'm working on 2 books right now, and I'm writing a paragraph, and I'm like, God, I need to just share that, and I'll just copy it and throw it up on the internet. Like this is good, and it ministers to you, right? And that's the weird thing with that. Like when you're writing it, you're like, wow, this is magic, and it really is an alchemical process. It really is magic using words. I mean, words are magic. We're performing rites as we write. Or some people write in cursive and they speak curses over people, and we're spelling, and with our spelling we're speaking spells over people, good or bad, blessings or curses or whatever. But yeah, we get done and we step away from something, we're like, wow, we're blown away. It's even bigger when you come back months or years later and you look back, especially if you're talking about higher consciousness stuff like we're talking about, and then you're going through a rough spot. You don't, there's no synchronicities. You don't feel like you have a purpose or a point in the world. I mean, we go through this roller coaster, right? You go through these dark times and you listen to your music, you're like, man, I don't even believe I wrote that. There's no way. And the hard thing for us too, for me, it's been harder. Like it's less fun. There's going to be less music coming out because of this, because we set the bar so high. And now every song has to be better than that song. And if we put out one, we've done a disservice to ourselves, to the fans, to the community, because we've wrote stuff that may have been channeled. I don't know where it comes from. It definitely comes from God, right? But we're like, every song has to meet or beat that. We set a level. It's like, oh Lord, that's a great song. Like that's an otherworldly song. People listen to that song and they leave their body. Like they go on that journey. No pressure. Next song, no pressure. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
And that's how you get better. Better. But I found myself kind of repeating the words and having songs that are just let me just finish the verse or whatever. And I'm like, I'm selling I feel like I'm selling myself out to do that. It's like how many times can I use those rhyming words? How many times can I talk about the same thing and articulate it? It's different when I sit down here at the computer to write, to work on a beat. Let me write something. That's one thing. But most of those beautiful songs and most of those weird rhyming schemes that really stand out have been when we were doing other stuff, right? They weren't like, okay, it's time to write a song and you get something beautiful. Sometimes it works, but the majority is you're jogging and then you're like, transcend the physical, spiritual, individual. Faith followed by works. I'm healing them with the syllables. Third eye visual, teaching mystical principles. Like, hold on, let me write that down. And then I can take that and then come back to the lab and dissect it and add to it and get another rhyming scheme that kind of fits with that beat of these little pieces of paper that I've wrote doing other stuff. Not writing music, but working on the car, cutting grass, jogging, whatever you're doing. And so those little phrases and things that come to you, man, some of the best ones I've written were not wrote while I was working on a song. Now I've been able to add to it because I have the kind of a topic. I have the syllables there that I'm going to keep trying to go with, and I already have a layout and a beat for it. So then I can come to the lab and still dive in with that. Some of it, some of it is let's put on the beat, let's write, bing, got it. But most of it comes from other places through the subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. I still remember I used to ride my bike a lot when I was younger. And I remember I used to be riding a bike and I would get like melodies. Like I remember that's what it was specifically for me. Like I would get these melodies, right? Like hooks. Like all of a sudden I was coming out with these catchy like hooks, and like you said, just out of nowhere. You're just riding, adrenaline is flowing, the endorphins, right?
Yeah.
And these things are just popping in your head. And then I remember I used to have to bust out my phone while I'm on my bike, and I used to have to press record, like the voice record.
Yeah.
And I was singing, you know what I'm saying? And I would like, I don't remember exact melodies, whatever, but I would just like have to sing them all, and I would have to record it right then and there because I would have to I would like, if I wouldn't remember how exactly it sounded, exactly how I, pronunciated, like exactly how it came. So I'm like, okay, I need to record it exactly how it sounds in my head right now.
Yeah.
So later when I go to record it, it's gonna, I have an idea or like something to go back to.
Yeah.
And now I wake up in the morning and I go get my exercise. I'll walk around. They have a reservoir here in LA. It's called Silver Lake Reservoir. I'll go walk, and I'll still like go and bust out a beat. But I found out that when I'm walking and I listen to a beat, like the lyrics come to me a lot easier and a lot better. So I like to be in motion basically when I'm writing my lyrics, you know. So sometimes I'll still throw in a beat and say, okay, but once again, whatever comes to my head, then I just start writing.
Get it out.
Then down, so you're still kind of forcing it. But then I had those moments where, like I said, I'm on the bike and I had to get on my voice recorder and record whatever I could hear in my head just so I could remember it later.
Yep. Yeah. Because you'll if you write it, say you're driving or you pull over, I pull over and write stuff down because it's like, there it is. I'll write it down and then get home either that evening exhausted or go back to it the next day. I don't know my rhyming scheme. Like I can't just rap this to any beat. I don't. And for the life of me, like that's trash now because I can't remember the tempo. What might have been a little bit different and you can't remember it. So pulling out your phone and just rapping it in your phone just so you know the cadence that you spoke, and just getting it out of you because you'll forget it, And I've been doing the same thing with my writing and stuff. It's kind of like this thing with God. It's like, just get it out of you. Like, get it out, and I'm going to give you more. Same thing with the lyrics. Get that 4 syllables out, that 2 bars out. Get that out, and I'm going to give you more. You get it to build and build and build and build, and I'm going to give it to you. Creativity is going to flow, all of that. In the same way with working on my books. Right now, it's hard to get inspired because there's so much that you got to do, so it's like crippling. Even it's like, man, a book is going to be a lot, so it pushes you off because you got so much to do. But now I'll be like doing something around the house and I'll have a sentence come to me and I was like, all right, pull it up, just come to the computer real quick, get it out. I mean, you may have a paragraph, you may have 3 sentences, but get it out. And as those 3 sentences get out, it's stored. And now I have more to give you, and it's going to flow. God's not going to give you the beginning, the end, the middle stuff, and just fill it all in. You can't carry that all in your head. You got to get it out of you. And so,
Yeah.
really, like I've been writing some stuff about that process of the Lord says, "I will give you a new heart." Okay, that's a topic. I will give you a new heart, and then vroom, here it is. Here's the revelation. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Wow. I just wrote 3 pages about God giving you a new heart, and I had no idea where this came from. So there you go. You get into the flow state, is what it's called. Whether you're talking about, people talk about channeling, I think that a lot of these people who are so-called channelers are even tapping into the flow state, and they're like, I don't know who it comes from. They'll give it another voice. They'll give it a name. This is a guy named Bashar who lives on the planet Xenon. And it gives them an instant credibility when they do that, but it's tapping into that source field that they don't know where it comes from or how to explain it, but I really feel like it comes from within somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I've definitely had those experiences, and that's always the best stuff too. Like you said, that's when it's gonna be, what I'm saying, something powerful and something that is gonna be worth saving and writing down. And it's usually, like you said, it's always like a good. That's why you have to write it down, because you're like, oh man, this is good. And like I said, that's something you wouldn't think of, when you just sit down trying to force it, unless it's in the flow of things. Because like you said, a lot of times,
Yeah.
I'll get going with some lyrics. I'll sit down, listen to a beat. I'll get going, but it's not until like the middle or the end or like the second verse. Just say I'm writing a 3-bar verse. Like sometimes it's like the second or third verse. I'm like, oh man, this is getting good. And then you'll even scrap the first 2 verses and just keep going off of the third, because like you're in a flow and you're in a rhythm and you're channeling, or like you said, you're really like the groove of things, and now you got it going. So like, so that's when you like know you tapped in, right? So but I've definitely had those experiences, and I love those experiences. And once again, and that's when you're in another place, and that's when you're zoned out, and that's when you're how do you say it, like you're escaping, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you're not, that's when you're totally in your realm.
Have you ever I've had this happen, like notably on one occasion. The song is decent, but have you ever woke up and had lyrics in your head, like fresh out of bed? It's like in your mind there was a song that came to you. You wake up singing it, repeating it over and over. You're like, I got to get this down, or jump in the booth and record it. You ever woke up and had that in your head?
Yeah, it's definitely happened to. I could recall that's happened to me once or twice. But it's not like every day type thing. But I do remember that happened to me one time. And but what I do notice is that, like I said, when I go take my walks in the morning, um, the best things come to me is when you're right out of the dream state. Like that's when I
Yeah.
notice, yeah, and like whether it's thoughts or whether it's like lyrics, like in the morning, I just noticed that my thoughts and my lyrics, they're just so much more potent for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And my brother Andre Aram, he explained it to me, is because it's when you're off the soul plane, right? When you get off of that dream state and that soul plane, you're still like halfway in it. So like you're still in that whole other, that other realm. So like you're able to get these thoughts that you wouldn't have like later in the day, because once we wake up and we start doing our daily thing, we start doing our things, you're already getting so influenced by everything else, right? But when you just wake up, when you're just fresh from your sleep, these thoughts that are in your mind are like, could be from this other, what I'm saying, the soul plane as he describes it.
Yeah, the true
So
self or something, man. I remember the lyrics, and it wasn't, and the weird thing is, as I'm thinking about it now, it's almost like it could have been like just God speaking to me, and I just turn it into a song. You know what I'm saying? Like God just giving me something, and it was like, oh, there's a song, wake up with it. But it was a song called, I did a song called Chase Christ, and it was when I was dealing with all the prosperity guys in the church and going back and forth with the Christian rap and stuff. But it was they chase money, we chase Christ. They want to have it all, we just want to have life. You need a new vision, you need a new view, because this is so much bigger than you. But I remember I woke up singing it in my head, and I just went straight to the booth and
wow,
laid it down. So
yeah,
it's cool when
that's
that
definitely,
happens.
yeah. I do recall, and like a lot of times too, I'm saying it's just like it's just random thought. Like you said, it could just be thoughts, but then you turn it into a song or a lyric. But yeah, I notice when I first wake up is when I'm the most inspired to do anything. And I always try to act on my thoughts in the morning.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, for us, and like, because we're in this dialogue with God, right, with consciousness, and it's like God's trying to speak to you, and we're trying to turn it into a song. Like I remember getting those inspirations like that, or just random of the day, random words come to my head, like, you know what I'm saying, serenity. I was like, oh, I need to do a song called Serenity. And I feel like God's like, no, you need to seek serenity. I want to give you some serenity. Don't write a song about it. You need serenity in your life, you know? And, but that's just how we are as poets and as psalmists. We write. We're looking for inspiration, and no matter where it comes from, you know, we want to write it.
You know what used to be really, really what I used to love and what I remember as an artist when I had my home studio, like when I was younger, when all I had to do was music, when I had no, no job and I was either just going to school or something, or like there was a time where me and my friends, it was 24/7 music. We would literally, like, for example, we'd be in the studio and then we'd be writing all day or all night, right? So we'd be writing and recording all night. We'll write the song, record it. We'll be like, you go to like, so I go turn off the studio, right? We're listening to the song that we just recorded. I'll go to sleep, wake up, go straight to the studio, turn on the studio, listen to the song that we just recorded last night, hear the song, and then basically jump into the next song or the next verse or whatever it was. And I remember that's like, I feel like that's when music was, because now I don't have that type of leeway to be doing that, you know what I'm saying, with
Mm-hmm.
all the different things I got going on. But at that point, I just remember that's when music was so beautiful and so free and like so flowing, and like, because literally went to sleep, after just doing a song or, dreaming about the music, then you wake up, first thing you do is play the song you just recorded last night. And then you either, like I said, continue that song or,
Yeah.
okay, let's throw on the next beat. And it was just 24/7. It was like I was living the life of an artist, which I've done a few times, like when we went touring and just back in the days when I don't know if I was a student. I might have been a student at that point, or maybe I wasn't enrolled in class. But yeah, that was the days, man, when I'm saying I would go to sleep, basically go to sleep in the studio, wake up in the studio, and then that's the first thing
Yeah.
you do, the last thing you do before you go to sleep, first thing you do in the morning. And I just remember that definitely gave me so much more, like, a lot of inspiration and just a lot more creativity. And yeah, I just remember it feeling good. And I just like wish I could go back to those days, which I can, but like, now, it just life changes, so now, I'm not as young and
Yeah,
I got
and
a lot
you
of
probably you probably progressed a lot more too in your
yeah,
stylistically. But no, I mean those early times are near and dear to your heart. I mean, when we first started recording, and first I built the vocal booth. Me and my father-in-law, we built the vocal booth and had it set up in my living room. And for years, you come in my living room, and we in our family living room, we have a vocal booth set up, and I had a wireless keyboard and wireless mouse, and I would look through the screen in the booth, and the computer was outside, and I would record it from in the booth, and they were like, oh man, I love your setup. And people would come over, and we would work on songs together, and we would knock the song out, and then after every song we'd get in the car with somebody who had a system, and we'd ride to that song and bump it in the system and be like, oh man, and we'd hear little things in it we need to change, but it was usually on to the next one. It was just like, man, I got a song. It's a song and it's pretty good, and here's another one. And so we just knock out all types of music. But every time we get done with the song, we get in the car and ride. I don't have that enthusiasm for it anymore, to record a song and just be so excited I'm getting in the car listening to it like that. But early days, we definitely did that.
yeah, those were the good old days. Is that the same setup that you had when we were there? Because that reminds me of what you just
Oh yeah,
described.
yeah, 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 for
Yeah,
sure.
we were
Yeah,
over there. Yeah, and
yep,
you had that in the living room, and you could see through it. And
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I still remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys recorded in that booth. Yeah, I took that down a couple years ago, and I just got. I mean, now as long as you got a good mic and you have one of those what they call a portable vocal booth, which is just the little wraparound that wraps
Yep.
around. As long as you got a good mic in that, you're straight. But my
Yeah.
mic sucked so bad, like it picked up the room. It was like a little $100 mic, and it just would pick up just the atmosphere and a lot of wind and air, and so it needed a booth like that. But that was good to have a booth in my living room because my wife could be watching a movie and I'm in the booth recording a song, in the same
Yeah.
place. But yeah, man, the good old days.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, man. Like I said, that experience, recording that song with you and then doing the music video out in the backyard with the water hose and
Yeah.
and just to manifest that and make it what it was, like knowing that, like I said, we just, two kids from California came all the way to your studio in
Dude, that was a
Alabama.
that was a great Great video, man. It still holds up to this day, bro. It's a good
We
song.
still say like yeah, the song is a great song, but when we see the video, we're like, man, you would literally think we're like out in like the Amazon
Oh,
forest.
yeah, yeah, cuz
You did the chops, you did the cuts and everything that you
a
put
lot of
in the
people
edit.
did. A lot of people did
Yeah,
because I took some Amazon forests and stuff like drone shots that look very similar to where we were, but literally we're in my backyard, and it just looks like
yeah,
this magical. So we're killing the magic now, but yeah, no, that was fun, and like I said, the rain, and it was funny too, just on some other stuff. Like I was I remember I would do stuff and post stuff that would kind of challenge people's dichotomy, especially the religious community. And I wasn't really a Blavatsky fan, and I knew a lot of people who knew who she was. So I put a Blavatsky quote at the end. I tried to find like a good Blavatsky quote. A lot of Christians like can't stand her because she's into theosophy and she's the mother of the new age movement and things like that. So I was like, you know what? Let me find a decent quote that I can put at the end from
yeah.
Blavatsky just
Nice.
to mess with people. But because in other songs I
Yeah,
say expose you as a fraud like Blavatsky, but that's just some background info too for people who watch. It's this beautiful
it fit.
video than this Blavatsky quote.
Yeah, it fit like definitely like for like the for what we were doing for the song, for the tour, just like everything that we were doing at the time, the movement. But what people don't know is we had to put our clothes in the dryer after that and wait for them to dry so we could move on to the next state. So the so
Yeah,
people don't.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. I wore my ET shirt. I got that ET shirt from Universal where we went on the ET ride. So yeah, just some little background.
Nice.
I don't have that shirt anymore. It's definitely too small. But dude, yeah, man, good memories. And man, I enjoyed hanging out with you on here, catching up. Like I said, you didn't know what we was gonna talk about. Let's just roll with it, man. There's so much that we can talk about, and so much that we can probably keep going. But we've already done almost 2.5 hours, so it'd be a good spot to end it, man. Thanks for coming on, hanging out with me. People are wanting to know in the chat, are you on YouTube? Where to find your stuff? Go ahead and plug your music and all that cool stuff where people can check you out. I do give you a kudos and shout out to you because a lot of your stuff is branded under the same thing, Modern Day Soulja.
Absolutely.
So it's really easy to find versus Modern Day Soulja. My email is God's Son 187. My Facebook is so and so. So kudos on the branding with that. But yeah, go ahead and share your stuff, man.
Yeah, as a marketing PR major, I had to make sure my stuff's all branded. So yeah, if anybody wants to find me or my music, man, you could search me up. You could Google me. Modern Day Soulja. Soulja's Soulja. But I'm on YouTube, so same thing. YouTube, you can just type in Modern Day Soulja, Soulja. All one word or three different words. All my stuff should pop out. iTunes, Spotify. I'm on any different streaming platform that I'm saying you could find my music. Google Play. I got some music videos on YouTube as well. So, but yeah, once again, it's just Modern Day Soulja. Soulja's Soulja. Modern Day spelled as is. And yeah, I even have the website. I think the website is .net. So modernDaySoulja.net. But yeah, for my music, you might want to, you can go straight to the website, find all my different links, or you could just go to YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your music, and type in Modern Day Soulja, Soulja, as in the soul, the spirit,
The soul of Jah.
the soul of Jah. Yeah, it's not with the H though. It's not with the H.
I know,
It's
right?
Soulja. Someone tried to get me to change my name and add an H at the end, and I couldn't do it just because like the branding, right? I had to keep the branding all one.
Exactly. Once you do it, you got to go with it. I'm glad that I changed mine early on because I was TruthSeekah at one point, and trying to brand that. Maybe I would have did good at branding. I think I'm pretty good at branding at this point. Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have been the first result on the TruthSeekah. Now that would be cool. That's a lot more organic hits. But when I put the totally all my stuff pops up, and it was easy to get the websites and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, shout out, man. We'll do it again, brother. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me. And next time when I got my album or a couple things going on, I'll hit you up.
We'll do it again, bro.
All right,
All right,
brother.
peace and shalom.
All right.
Blessings.
Peace.
Modern Day Soulja, Matthew Schuler, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you watching live, I'm sorry for the hiccups in the stream. I don't know. It seems like the internet's been doing good, but something's up with this program now. I don't know. It's been crazy, and it's really irritating. But you know what? We make do what we got. I will edit it, put it together for a good audio podcast, and make it sound cohesive. But no, really good show. Really enjoyed it. Talked about a lot of music. Went in on our knowledge and love of Tupac Shakur, overcoming addictions, marijuana addiction, DDD, bunch of really cool stuff. Talked about Christ and spirituality, as we always do, and what it means to him, what it means to me. I like to throw my 2 cents in there, and just got to give you guys some background information on this songs and writing process and recording process and what that looks like, what that sounds like. So yeah, there's a bunch of different just background shots in there. So with that, I'm gonna say peace and shalom, man. Thank you guys for hanging out. If you'd like to support my work, see everything that we're bringing to the table, a bunch of really cool stuff, go to Patreon, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. You get access to my music. That song we're talking about, Fearless, it's on Patreon. It's a really good song. The video's even better. Go check them out together if you haven't. Type in TruthSeekah Fearless on YouTube. Check it out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Bunch of really cool stuff. Just to answer a question right quick, I know there were some questions coming through. John Judo, my brother, is asking, what is the topics that I am writing my books on that I mentioned at the beginning? 2 different ones. Started off writing one. It's called The Spirit Realm or Spirit World, and it's really just covering a bunch of different angels, demons, entities, and the sovereignty of God, and how they all coexist into this spiritual ecosystem and influence mankind and our daily walk in and out of that. And really it paints a picture of the sovereignty of God, is showing how God uses all of that stuff, and they all have to answer to the Almighty Creator. So that's one, but it's a bunch of spiritual encounters with different entities and beings and angels and demons and aliens and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be in that book. The second book, as far as the working title right now, is just simply Knowing Who We Are in Christ in the Heavenly Realms. And so I'm just really talking about knowing what we look like, who we are, what we have access to, and how to get access to it by practicing the presence of God, practicing spending time with God in intimacy and in prayer and in meditation. And so, yeah, it's going to be good. Some good stuff. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Check it out. Love y'all. Peace, peace.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. Your so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to truthseekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.